Yes, Eric.
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. Well, I know it's 8 o'clock, but appreciate you taking a little bit of time and me to interview you. It was cold the other day at Table Rock, so I didn't figure you guys want to stick around for me to chit-chat with you very long.
It's all good, man.
Well, how was your Halloween? You dress up like a winning angler?
Oh, yeah. I was number one dad, just like I am every year.
That's good. That's an easy costume to put on, isn't it, or is it?
That's right. I just put on my same old, and go with it.
Good. Are you still still munching on candy?
Oh, the kids sure are. That's for sure.
Yeah, you guys just.
I get in there and steal a little bit here and there, but.
Well, good. Well, what's the life of Eric consist of every day?
Oh man, it's just the daily. My wife homeschools. We've got 2 left at the house, and 2 that are out of the house and married. And but man, it's an adventure every day. There's no doubt. We've got a special needs daughter, and she's 17, so she requires 100% attention all the time. And then my 12-year-old daughter. And so it's good. It's good. We love it that way. We live a pretty simple life. We live out here in Shell Knob, and we're on the lake, and it's awesome, man. I guide most days. I'm fortunate to guide over 300 days a year, and then we also travel and fish tournaments about 30 or 40 days a year. So my family gets to come with me, and I don't want to do it if they can't come with me.
Yeah. What other tournaments? Do you go out of state, or do you try to stick local?
We do go out of state. Yeah, I fish some MLF Invitationals, and then we fish the Toyota Series as well. So,
okay, have you had a pretty good year this year?
It was a struggle. It really was. This was I've made the championship every year that I've not tried, but every time the championship comes to Table Rock, I think it's nerves. I don't know what it is, but it's like I don't know. It's like I think I'm pushing the bar too much, just trying to make it. And the last qualifying tournament, all I needed was a top 60 finish on Lake of the Ozarks, and man, had just 2 days of I'm still scratching my head. Like, I don't even know really what happened. It was just I had a ceramic bust out of the only rod I was really using. I was pitching a jig and to docks, and I broke every fish off. And in practice I hadn't, but I had just made an error the night before. At 10 o'clock at night, I was like, shoot, I need to go put new line on that reel, knowing that I really probably didn't. But it's just, you try to control the controllables. So I went out there, and my rod fell down in the dark. I didn't think anything of it, and I started putting line through the rod guides and everything, and it wasn't until 2 o'clock the next day then I realized,
oh wow,
why am I breaking off all these fish? And so I weighed the first fish that I caught was a 2-pounder, and I didn't break it off. I flipped it and in the boat, and that was the only one I had for day one that I got in the boat. And then the second day, I knew I was doing the right thing. I mean, because I could literally see these fish, bite, and I had 1584 on my scales when I came in, and I had made a mental error, and I was 28 minutes late. I had wrote down the wrong weigh-in time, so it just was not. I still, for years I've always been like, man, why do people put the weigh-in time on their hands? Like, that's, how do you not know when you're weighing in? And I got a bad case of karma, I guess. I understand, that happens to you one time, and I'll be writing my weigh-in time on my hand from here on out.
I'm about to say, it probably takes one time, and then after that, you're probably setting 3 alarms. You got written down on your floorboard on your hand, and
man, it just wasn't meant to be, I guess. But tomorrow's the championship, first day of the championship, and I'm going to go. I was told by the tournament director, if there's a last chance option if you get down there, because obviously he can't call down at the point of the morning of the tournament. It just doesn't work. But if I show up and a co-angler's left on the dock or whatever, there's a chance that I can still get in. So I'm gonna get up just like I'm fishing the tournament, go down there and see whatever happens. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Now, is that the one this weekend? The
Tournament Series Championship. Yeah, it starts
Gotcha.
tomorrow. It's a $250,000 first place prize, and golly, I would love to have an opportunity for that one.
So you're just flipping a coin, going down there, hoping somebody's going to be standing around needing
I am. I'm trying to take advantage of somebody's misfortune, and if it happens, ultimately, it's meant to be. But I'm going to 100% do my part. So.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, you kind of on a roll a little bit. Obviously, you won the Solo Pro there at Table Rock, and
right.
Probably everybody's going to want to know when I post this out. Give the details, the secrets, the juice. What. I took a little picture of that swim bait that you were throwing. Was that a weighted one that you're throwing 30 feet deep, or?
No, that's actually it's a 6 cents trace swim bait, and it's a lot like a bull shad. So it's a bait that you burn and stop, but I fish it really, really fast, and they have a floating one and then a slow sink, and I like that slow sink just because I'm covering water with it. I typically I have the trolling motor on high, and I'm just making multiple casts, and instead of throwing like a whopper plopper, that's sometimes they really, really get on a wake bait, and that's and they don't bite it every day for sure, but they were definitely wanting it on Sunday.
So do you throw that up, I don't know, 10 foot or less?
Yeah, I'm just fishing the bank with it. I'm just
really?
Covering water and throwing it around any rocks, docks, trees, whatever looks fishy. But the main thing is just covering a lot of water with it.
Yeah.
You don't get a tremendous on the days where they're really eating. You can get a lot of bites on it. Just like it's probably you could put anything in your hand and really catch them. But Sunday they 100% wanted that wake bait, but it was a timing deal. It wasn't easy at all. But the last 2 hours of the day, it's when they really started munching it. So I kept everything honest. I threw a crankbait. My first 2 keepers came on a crankbait, and that was right off the bat in the first 30 minutes of the morning. And I caught a couple, flipping a jig around docks, and then let's see, I threw a spinnerbait quite a bit, and even fish deep because it was so tough, because the first 4 or 5 keepers that I had in the well, I think I had my first limit by 10 o'clock, but I don't think they weighed 10 pounds. I really don't. They were just real skinny smallmouth and skinny largemouth, and so. We had the right conditions, with the clouds and the wind for that shallow bites to really kick on. So I knew that was going to work. It's just one of those things that you just had to stick with it. So, when if the sun would have been out, I probably wouldn't have fished shallow at all.
Well, a lot of guys were saying that I was talking to on the dock, they were struggling catching them shallow.
Yeah, it was weird because it was to me, like that was like the best fall conditions that you could have, probably had just from years of experience on these Clearwater lakes around here, these Ozark lakes. When it's nasty like that's typically when they go to biting, and it was not the case. I mean, it was a struggle. I mean, I just covered a tremendous amount of water. Stopping at a lot of sweet spots, little 50-yard stretches, 20-yard stretches, and I just covered enough of them in a day where I got enough bites. But I will tell you, the last 2 hours of the tournament was really, really crucial. I mean, I cold. If I had not have been hustling the way I was from start to finish, because I gained a lot of casts by the end of the day. And I had a probably my biggest fish was probably a 3.5 pounder. And I caught that with 2 minutes before I needed to get my butt back to the weigh-in. So
wow,
that probably gained, 3/4 of a pound, or probably with that one. So it'd have been real close.
yeah, that bumped you over. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess on a fall day, 13 pounds. Is that probably consistent?
It is. In the fall like this, 1-day tournaments are 1-day shootouts. You never really feel comfortable, with coming in with 14 pounds. Like honestly, Sunday was kind of a shocker. Just because I felt like we had the right conditions, even though I hadn't had the day that I thought I should have had. It was enough, and I was glad to see that it was tough for everybody. But it's an occasional 16 to 17 pound bags is like the high end, is what kind of weights you see in October, November. But it's consistently like this Toyota Series championship that's coming up. I'm certain that 13 to 13 and a half pounds a day, probably around 40 pounds, is going to win it for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
So, it's typical. If you start getting over 12 pounds, you get around 13 pounds, and that's where you're at least going to give yourself a shot at a top 10 with that kind of weight.
Huh.
So,
Is it because of if the water drops below 62, then all of a sudden every tournament's getting 16 pounds? Is there a water temperature time frame, or?
I really don't. I don't pay much attention to the water temperature. I know it's a critical thing, but it's more about length of daylight hours, in my opinion, and also it's got a lot to do with fronts and the type of day that you have. Because even in the best month, we're approaching the 3rd, 4th week in November through December. That to me is probably the funnest time on these lakes around here. They just go to eating, but man, if you don't have the right conditions, some of these slick, sunny days, I mean, it can be a struggle to get bit. So,
yeah. Did you fish in the clearer water area or some of the dirtier water? More of your rivers.
I stayed in the clear water. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then what I don't know, what do you do from now till, like you said, when it starts to get good? Still with the swim bait, or do you do like the A-rigs? Are you jigs?
I really don't play with the A-rig too much. I don't think, for me anyway, I know you can throw it and get bit kind of from here, on out, but I really don't personally pick up the A-rig until, January. And honestly, it seems like, the last couple of years, that bite is really kind of dwindled. I feel like, I can do more damage with a single swim bait out in deeper water. But I throw a crankbait and a spinnerbait a lot from now and through December, and then I like scoping on them too. I like looking at them out deep and chasing shad balls around and stuff like that. So I enjoy fishing both ways. I feel like I'm pretty effective both ways, but it's just I play the weather conditions. If it's kind of nasty and we have good dark days, or at least some good wind, then I'll try to milk that shallow bite for all it's worth. And then, if you got to go out deep, then I'll fully commit to that. But everything depends on the weather.
I got you. Is Table Rock? I've heard different stories. Table Rock's getting tougher, or it seems a tougher lake. Are you feeling any of that, or is it just because we haven't had a lot of rain this year? Is that got something to do with it?
I think fishermen, we all complain, and I think from year to year we forget how tough that these times are. So September, October, first part of November, man, every year it's tough, and every year I hear fishermen say, "Oh man, it's not what it used to be." Well, it really is. Because
I got you. Yeah, I understand.
It's always kind of the toughest time of the year, right?
Oh, it is.
but until that water temperature really cools down, we start getting later on, and those fish get, the weather. Later on in the season, they just go to biting. The end of November. Even like fishing customers, when they're like, "When's the best time?" and I'm like, "Man, about the third week of November." All through the winter, to me, is my favorite time to fish. I mean, it's just consistent numbers, quality.
Is that because they're moving out the main lake? Like you can pattern them. Hey, there's a group of them on this point.
It's just they start. The deep fish really start schooling up.
Oh.
It's just like in the summertime. When they start coming off the beds and they start really schooling up in the summertime. Well, the bigger fish are schooling up. I mean, it's one of the only times that you'll catch, a smallmouth, a largemouth, and a spotted bass all mixed together because they're out there feeding on bait balls and chasing that shad in deeper water. And then you've also got the shallow water bite where these big fish, that cold water, I'm 100% sold that there are two different types of fish. You've got fish that live shallow most of their lives. And to me, I mean, I can tell just a lot of times, in this may sound crazy, but just how the build of the fish is. You'll see a lot of fish with big heads, like big shoulders, real wide fish. And that's because they're bluegill eaters, gizzard shad eaters. They feed on crawfish or up there, and they live shallow. It's amazing how many fish you catch in 10 foot of water or less all winter long. So,
have you seen a certain type of crawfish or anything that everybody tries to match a hat? I've always been more like the crankbait, the jig fisherman, and you always curious. Are they blue? Are they brown? Do you know? Or
man, honestly, I don't pay much attention to that. To me, when I pick a color and like a crankbait or a jig, it's all about the water clarity. And I don't know if I can really explain it, but certain days, like dark days, I want either a real hot color, especially if I'm fishing for smallmouth, or a brighter color, and then when you've got those sunny conditions. I'm not saying that bright color, because sometimes I'll throw a real bright colored crankbait, but I like it, a more natural green with a little bit of oranges and transparent crawfish style colors, especially in really ultra clear water.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of one of those deals. I've just done it for so long, that you kind of get an idea of what colors work best under certain conditions. But, water clarity is really the biggest key when it comes to, picking crankbait and jig colors out.
Yeah. You have a favorite way to catch them? Or like you said, does it matter on the conditions? Or if you had tomorrow, so, hey, you got one or two lures to pick from, your best ones you want to, and they're biting,
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, like the baits are not really, I don't have like a favorite bait, but I do have a favorite technique, and that's just mashing on the trolling motor and covering water. I don't care what it is. If I can throw a bait and have my trolling motor on high and literally not get off the gas all day, I am in my comfort zone. That's what I want to do. I want to go 100 miles an hour. And, I feel like especially at home here, I've got enough milk runs or little stretches, sweet spots. And if I cover enough of those, in a day, then, I feel like my chances are really good at having a high finish.
Gotcha. Well, good. Well, how can everybody find you? You got a website, you have, Facebook, social media stuff that they can.
I do. I've got Eric Olliverson Professional Fishing, and then I've got Instagram, and then my website is ericseliteguideservice.com. So it's kind of hard to believe next year will be 25 years, man. 25 years I've been guiding. So
wow, that's
cool, man.
Has that business grown? Like I know COVID, it probably skyrocketed. Is it tapered off? Kind of.
It's been pretty dang consistent. Like I said, I'm fortunate to where it's probably been the last 12 years or more. It's probably been more than it's probably been the last 15 years. I'm able to guide over 300 days a year, but man, it was not for all blood, sweat, and tears.
Oh yeah,
I mean, when I was 19, I was going to everybody, all the marinas, the resort owners, putting posters up at Silver Dollar City and getting them taken down and threatening to have the cops called on me and everything else. But no, the first year I ever did it, because I didn't have a plan B. I mean, this had to work. So I did 88 trips the first year, and every one of them was earned. And
wow.
And after that, it's just been just a consistent grind. But it's yeah, I really care how every trip goes. I want everybody to have the most memorable trip, and at least learn something. And for them to all be catching trips. I know it doesn't always go like that, but for people to have success, it carries over with. I'm a very competitive person, and I want my customers to feel that as well. So I want them to have a good time, and at the end of the day, I want them to say, "Man, this was a great experience." So anyway,
Yeah. No, that's you sound like you've like you said, you've earned it, and that's good that it's become consistent even with the times we're in. So that's.
yes.
That's a lot of fishing days, so that's a lot of.
Man, dude, I tell you what, I'll never take it for granted either, man. I know how blessed I am and all the things that I could have to be doing. So, there's no really bad day. It just, you put things into perspective. So, Lord knows I've been on the bottom. I've been on the bottom plenty of times over my lifetime, and I've had to earn everything I've ever had. So, I'll never take it for granted. So,
yeah. Have you ever thought of, trying to get on one of the tours or trying to qualify? Has that ever been?
I have qualified, and I've actually fished at that high level before, and I have wanted that, or I really thought that that's what I wanted. My career path was to be in. A professional fisherman, a touring pro, fishing either the Bassmaster Elites or the, MLF or whatever. That was always a childhood dream. And I had a phenomenal year. I came in second place in points behind my buddy Andy Newcomb for the Toyota Series, the Angler of the Year race. And I mean, just lost by just a couple points. Had a phenomenal year, 3 top 10s, went to the championship, and I went on a run where I won a Toyota Series, made it to the All-American. I had 6 or 7 MLF top 10s in a row.
Wow.
In tournaments. It was a really, really good run. And, I was like, man, this is it, honey. I was talking to my wife, and I was like, man, the doors have opened. I mean, it just seems like my path had been lit. This is my chance. And, sometimes I really genuinely believe this, that, sometimes the Lord opens up doors and lights up paths for you to look at that and get a perspective on the inside and say, you know what? Maybe this is not what's best for me. And for you to be able to shut that door and for you to be able to have closure, because, if somebody was said, nope, you can't do that, or something kept me from that, because it was a lot of things. We had some issues in our family, health issues, which took me off, and another year that I did it, my dad died in one of the tournaments. So it was just golly, it's I'm always running across these obstacles. And, now I have total peace of mind. I know I'm on the right track. I do what I get to do and love. It's my passion. I get to be in fishing, whatever that looks like, on a daily basis. And I've got phenomenal sponsors, which allow me to travel and fish some of these AAA events and some professional events here and there. And man, life is good. I mean, that's all I can say. But I'm glad I experienced that and do have closure with, at least right now. And especially in the times that we're in bass fishing with all the professional leagues, there's no question I feel like I'm on the right path. So,
oh yeah, there's some drama going on right now, isn't there? Boy, it's all kind of interesting to hear all the podcasts and the people. I won't get into it, but it's not even at that top level, or even remotely close. But it is interesting to hear, everybody's side and things like that, and but that's cool. You kind of dipped your toes in the big leagues, and that's. Was you on TV or anything? Did you ever have that?
I had one. I had made a top 20 cut on the FLW tour on Beaver Lake, and it was pretty exciting because I was tied for like second place after the first day, and I was super jacked about that. And anyway, lost some key fish and made the day 3 cut, but didn't make the day 4. But definitely had my opportunities. It would have been interesting if I would have got to make that day 4 because I was doing the right thing. So
good.
But anyway, yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Met a lot of great people. Made a lot of great friends that are still in the industry, and it's funny. It's like you look back and it's like, man, I was placed here for this reason because this happened, and you know what I mean. It's just that's how you got to look in life. Everything happens for a purpose, good or bad. We may not understand it when it happens, but there's not ever been a time where time has passed and I can actually look back and say, you know what, that makes all sense now.
Oh yeah, 100%. Now, do you guide only for bass, or do you do other?
We pretty much do everything that swims at times.
All right.
You got to stay, because most of our customers are, I would say 90%. So being in Branson, we get a lot of just families and people that aren't necessarily, fishermen or fish all that often.
Yep.
But it's just another form of, I guess, fun here in the Branson area. Is a novelty item is, we've got lakes, let's go fishing. They may have never fished before, but they get to Branson and see all these lakes and are like, yeah, that kind of sounds fun. So that's 90% of my clientele is just folks that want to get out, have a good time. So we do the walleye fishing has really come on in the last 3 or 4 years on Table Rock. And then seasonally we do, white bass during the white bass run. I crappie fish a lot all winter long and into the spring. And then of course our bass fishing. And then I do some trout fishing over on Taneycomo. If I don't have to, it's not my favorite thing to do.
Right. Is there a good crappie on Table Rock? I mean,
there is at times for sure. I know there's a lot of guys that have probably unlocked on how to catch these crappies consistently. But for me, 12 months out of the year, I think there's way better crappie lakes. Missouri is not in the top 5, I don't think, or Table Rock is not in the top 5 in the state of Missouri. I would say, Lake of the Ozarks or Truman is probably the most consistent 12 months out of the year. But Table Rock is it kicks them out. I mean, it's not any of those times where you're going to have 100 crappie day, but we've had plenty of 30 to upper 50, 60 fish days during the right time, and in the winter time it's a lot of fun. I mean, if somebody wants to really get some good live scope training, that's a great way to do it when they really get bunched up all winter long and get dialed in on that.
Thank you, Eric Olliverson, and congratulations on your Table Rock Lake win. Check out Eric's Facebook and guide service at ericeliteguideservice.com.